The alarm on Commander Vex's desk buzzed for the third time that morning. His green scales turned darker as he read the message on his screen. Another complaint about the human ship. The same human ship. Iron Will, cargo vessel, registration. 49H, he read aloud. His voice was low and angry. Third formal complaint in 2 months. Vex's assistant, a thin blue alien named Nyx, walked into the office. She carried a data pad in her forearms. Sir, the Galactic Trade Council wants a full report. They're getting tired of these humans. So am I, Vex said. He stood up from his chair and walked to the large window. Outside, he could see the busy docks of Kepler Station. Ships from 100 different worlds came and went every day. Most followed the rules. Most were safe and boring. Then there were the humans. What happened this time? Vex asked. Nyx looked at her datapad. The Iron Will arrived 3 hours ago. Hull damage on the port side, emergency life support running, and... She paused. And what? Sir, they appear to have weapons. Weapons that weren't there when they left. Vex turned around quickly. They built weapons during their cargo run? That's what the dock sensors show. Laser cannons mounted on their cargo arms. Some kind of missile system using their loading tubes. Vex felt his head start to hurt. This was exactly the kind of thing that got human ships banned from civilized space. Where's their captain now? Docking Bay 7. He's unloading cargo like nothing happened. Of course he is. Vex picked up his communication device. This is Commander Vex to Docking Bay 7. I want Captain Martinez in my office now. 20 minutes later, Captain Jake Martinez walked into Vex's office. He was a tall human with dark hair and calm eyes. His uniform was dirty and had burn marks on it. He looked tired but not worried. Commander Jake, he said with a smile. Nice to see you again. Sit down, Martinez. Vex pointed to a chair. We need to talk. Jake sat down and looked around the office. New pictures of your family. That's nice. How are the kids? Don't try to be friendly, Vex said. You're in serious trouble again. What did we do wrong this time? Jake asked. He sounded genuinely confused. Vex picked up the complaint forms from his desk. Let's see. Unauthorized weapons installation, hull modifications without permits, use of emergency frequencies for non-emergency communication, operating with damaged life support systems. He looked up at Jake. Should I continue? Well, Jake said slowly, I guess it sounds bad when you put it like that. It sounds bad because it is bad. Vex's scales turned almost black. These are serious violations, Martinez. The kind that get trading licenses revoked. Jake leaned forward in his chair. Can I explain what actually happened? Please do. Vex sat back and crossed his arms. We were carrying mining equipment to the outer rim, standard cargo run. Everything was going fine until we hit the Vega system. Go on. Pirates, Jake said simply. 3 ships, fast attack craft. They came out of nowhere. Vex frowned. There haven't been pirate reports in the Vega system for months. Well, there are now, Jake said. They disabled our main engines on the first pass, knocked out our communications too. We were sitting ducks. So what did you do? Jake smiled. We adapted. You adapted? My engineer Lucy, she figured out how to reroute power from the cargo, baited the engines, got us moving again but barely. Then my gunner Rick, he had this crazy idea about the loading arms. Vex felt his headache getting worse. What kind of idea? The pirates were small and fast, right? Hard to hit with normal weapons. But cargo loading arms, they're designed to grab big, heavy things. Rick figured if we could mount some mining lasers on them. You turned your cargo equipment into weapons? Pretty much, yeah. And the missile thing, that was just loading tubes shooting mining charges. Not very accurate, but loud enough to scare them off. Vex stared at Jake for a long moment. And the hull damage? One of them got a lucky shot before we scared them away. Nothing serious. Emergency patches held fine. Emergency patches, Vex repeated. On life support systems? Lucy knows what she's doing, Jake said. We never lost pressure. Air recycling worked the whole time. Vex stood up and walked to his window again. Below, he could see Jake's ship. The iron will looked like it had been through a war. Burn marks covered the hull. Strange metal patches were welded over holes. The cargo arms had clearly been modified with weapon mounts. But it was still flying, still working, still carrying cargo. Martinez, Vex said without turning around. Do you understand? Why we have safety regulations? To keep people safe, Jake said. That's right, to keep people safe. These rules exist because space is dangerous. Equipment fails. People make mistakes. The regulations help prevent disasters. I understand that, Jake said. But what happens? When following the rules gets you killed? Vex turned back to face Jake. What do you mean? If we had followed standard procedure, we would have shut down all non-essential systems and waited for help. The pirates would have boarded us, taken our cargo, and probably killed my crew. Jake's voice was calm but serious. Instead, we improvised. We adapted. We survived. You also broke a dozen safety laws. Better than being dead. Vex sat back down at his desk. He picked up his communication device and pressed a button. Nix, get me Inspector Kale at the Trade Council. Tell him it's urgent. Jake raised an eyebrow. Inspector? The Trade Council is sending someone to investigate your ship, Vex said. Inspector Kale specializes in safety violations. He's very thorough. When will he arrive? He's already here. Been waiting for 3 days to inspect human vessels. Vex looked at Jake with something that might have been sympathy. Kale doesn't like it when people break rules, Martinez. Any rules? Jake nodded slowly. I see. The Council is considering new restrictions on human ships, maybe even banning them from certain sectors. Vex's scales were slowly returning to their normal green color. Too many complaints, too many incidents. And if we lose our trading license? Then you find a new job somewhere that doesn't require space travel. Jake stood up. Is that all? Commander? For now, but Martinez. Vex looked up at him. Inspector Kale will be boarding your ship tomorrow morning. I suggest you prepare your crew. We'll be ready, Jake said. He walked to the door, then stopped. Commander? What? Those pirates. They hit 2 other ships in the same system last week, killed 4 people, took everything. Jake's voice was quiet. We stopped them, not the authorities, not the patrol ships. Us. Vex watched Jake leave his office. Then he turned back to his window and looked at the iron will again. The ship was ugly, damaged, and probably violated every safety regulation in the book. But it was still here. Its crew was still alive. And somewhere in the Vega system, 3 pirate ships were running for their lives. Vex pressed his communication button again. Nix? Yes, sir. Send a message to the Trade Council. Tell them Inspector Kale can board the human ship tomorrow, but also tell them... He paused. Tell them I want to be there too. Sir? I want to see this for myself. Outside his window, the iron will continued unloading its cargo. Despite everything wrong with it, the ship kept working. Just like its crew. Just like all humans, Vex thought. They never knew when to quit. Inspector Kale stepped onto the iron will with his scanner, in one hand and a data pad in the other. He was a tall, thin alien with 6 arms and large black eyes. His green uniform was perfectly clean and pressed. Every piece of equipment he carried was regulation standard. The inside of the human ship made him stop walking. What is this? Kale asked himself. The walls were covered with patches of different metals. Pipes ran in directions that made no sense. Wires were taped to the ceiling with some kind of silver material. Nothing looked like it belonged on a proper spaceship. Captain Jake appeared around a corner. Inspector Kale, welcome aboard. Sorry about the mess. Mess? Kale looked around again. How do you even fly this ship? Very carefully, Jake said with a smile. Would you like the tour? Kale opened his datapad and started typing. Yes, I need to see everything. Every system, every modification, every safety violation. That might take a while, Jake said. They walked down the main corridor. Kale's scanner beeped constantly. Every wall panel showed something wrong. Missing screws, non-standard materials, electrical systems that didn't match any known design. "Here's the engine room," Jake said, opening a heavy door. Cale stepped inside and immediately wished he hadn't. The engine room looked like a disaster area. Parts from different ship types were welded together. Control panels had been moved to strange places. Half the warning lights were covered with tape. A woman with short red hair looked up from a control console. She had grease on her face and her clothes were dirty. "Inspector, this is Lucy, our engineer," Jake said. "Ma'am," Cale said politely. Then he looked at his scanner. The readings made no sense. "What have you done to these engines?" Lucy wiped her hands on a cloth. "Which part?" "All of it." Cale pointed at the main drive unit. "This is a Class 7 engine, but it has Class 5 power couplings, and are those Class 9 cooling systems?" "Good eye," Lucy said. "We had to replace the original couplings after the Centauri run. Pirates damaged them with some kind of energy weapon. Couldn't find Class 7 replacements, so I used what we had." Cale typed quickly on his data pad. "That's a major safety violation. Different classes aren't compatible." "Tell that to my engines," Lucy said. "They've been running fine for 6 months." Cale checked his scanner again. The power output was actually higher than normal. The efficiency ratings were better than standard. "This is impossible." "Want to see the navigation room?" Jake asked. They climbed up a ladder to the next level. The navigation room was even worse. The main control console had been completely rebuilt. Screens were mounted at odd angles. The star charts looked like they had been drawn by hand. A young man with dark hair sat at the pilot station. He was playing some kind of music while he worked. "Tom, our pilot," Jake said. "Tom, this is Inspector Cale." Tom turned around and smiled. "Hey there, how do you like our ship?" Cale didn't answer. He was staring at the navigation computer. "What is this system?" "Oh, that's my baby," Tom said proudly. "Standard navigation computers are too slow. They can only calculate one route at a time. Mine can run 50 different calculations at once." "That's not how navigation computers work," Cale said. "It is now." Tom turned back to his console. "Watch this." He typed something, and the screens filled with numbers and star charts. Different routes appeared and disappeared in seconds. The computer was calculating hyperspace jumps, asteroid field paths, and emergency routes all at the same time. "Impressive, right?" Tom said. "Saved our lives more times than I can count." Cale's scanner was beeping so fast it sounded like an alarm. "This is completely against regulations. Navigation computers must have safety locks, backup systems, automatic shutoffs." "Had all that stuff," Tom said. "Removed it, just slowed everything down. The safety systems exist to prevent disasters. And they also prevent quick thinking," Tom replied. "When you're being chased by pirates, you don't have time for safety checks." Jake led Cale to the next room, weapons and cargo control. A large man with a beard looked up from a control panel. The room was filled with screens showing the outside of the ship. What Cale saw made him drop his data pad. "Those are mining lasers," Cale said slowly. "Yep," the man said. "I'm Rick, by the way." "You've mounted mining equipment on cargo handling arms." "Had to. We don't have a weapons license, so we can't carry military lasers. But mining equipment, that's just cargo." Rick grinned. "Smart, right?" Cale picked up his data pad with shaking hands. "This is the most dangerous thing I've ever seen. Cargo arms aren't designed for weapon mounting. The stress could tear your ship apart." "Hasn't happened yet," Rick said. "And it worked pretty well against those pirates. You could have killed yourselves. Maybe. But we didn't kill ourselves. We killed the pirates' engines and scared them away." Rick turned back to his controls. "Sometimes dangerous is better than dead." Jake showed Cale the rest of the ship. Every room had modifications. The medical bay used kitchen equipment for some procedures. The sleeping quarters had extra life support systems built from spare parts. Even the bathrooms had been changed to save water and power. After 2 hours, Cale sat down in the ship's small meeting room. His data pad was full of violations. His Scanner had recorded hundreds of safety problems. By all the rules he knew, this ship should not be able to fly. But it did fly, and according to the records, it had never missed a delivery, never lost cargo, never lost crew members. Captain Martinez, Cale said slowly, I need to ask you something. Sure. How many times has this ship almost been destroyed? Jake thought, for a moment. This year, maybe 20 times. Last year was worse. 20 times? Space is dangerous, Inspector. Equipment fails, pirates attack, asteroid storms happen. Solar flares can kill you. If you follow all the safety rules, you spend most of your time hiding in safe systems. That's the point of safety rules. Maybe for some people. Jake sat down across from Cale. But we're cargo runners. We go to dangerous places because that's where people need supplies. Outer rim colonies, mining stations, research outposts, these places can't wait for safe deliveries. Cale looked at his datapad again. Page after page of violations. Inspector, Jake continued, can I show you something? Jake pulled out his own datapad and showed Cale a list of deliveries. Medical supplies to Frontier Station during the plague outbreak. Emergency food to the Gamma-7 mining colony when their supply ship was destroyed. Replacement parts for the research station studying dangerous solar activity. What's your point? My point is that every one of these deliveries was dangerous. Other cargo ships wouldn't take the jobs. Too risky, they said. Against regulations. Jake put away his datapad, but people would have died without those supplies. Cale was quiet for a long time. Finally, he asked, what happens if I report all these violations? The Trade Council will revoke our license. We'll be banned from carrying cargo. And the next time Frontier Station needs emergency medical supplies? Cale didn't answer. The next time pirates attack a slow regulation standard cargo ship in the outer systems? Still no answer. Jake stood up. Inspector, I have a suggestion. What? Stay with us for our next cargo run, see how we actually work, then decide if we're really dangerous. Cale looked around the strange, modified ship. Every instinct told him to write his report and recommend immediate shutdown. These humans were reckless, they broke every rule. But they were also alive, and effective and brave. Where are you going next? Cale asked. Gamma-7 mining colony, routine supply run. Cale closed his datapad. How routine? Jake smiled. With us, nothing's ever routine. Against his better judgment, Inspector Cale decided to find out what that meant. The journey to Gamma-7 mining colony started peacefully. Inspector Cale sat in the observation deck, watching the stars move past. The Iron Will was flying with a military escort ship called the Star Guardian. Everything seemed normal. See? Captain Jake said, sitting down next to Cale. Sometimes, we have boring trips too. Cale was writing notes on his datapad. Your ship is maintaining proper distance from the escort, following standard flight patterns. I'm almost impressed. Don't get too comfortable. Tom's voice came over the speaker system. We're entering the debris field around Gamma-7. Through the window, Cale could see chunks of metal and rock floating in space. Old mining equipment, broken asteroids, and pieces of destroyed ships created a dangerous maze around the mining colony. This area is known for equipment problems, Jake explained. Something about electromagnetic interference from the planet's core. Ships break down here all the time. As if Jake had predicted it, warning lights started flashing on the bridge. Tom's voice came over the speakers again, but this time he sounded worried. Captain, we're getting a distress signal from the Star Guardian. Jake jumped up. What kind of distress? Engine failure, complete power loss. They're drifting into the debris field. Cale followed Jake to the bridge. On the main screen, they could see the military escort ship. It was dark and silent, slowly, spinning as it drifted toward a large chunk of twisted metal. How many people on board? Jake asked. 37, Tom replied. Full crew and some passengers. Rick looked up from his weapons console. Captain, we should call for help. There's a rescue station 6 hours away. 6 hours? Jake shook his head. They'll hit that debris in 2 hours, maybe less. Cale stepped forward. Captain, Standard protocol says we should maintain safe distance and wait for proper rescue ships. We're a cargo vessel, not a rescue ship. Jake looked at the screen again. The Star Guardian was getting closer to the debris. Inspector, how long do you think their emergency life support will last in a ship that size? Maybe 4 hours if they're lucky. And rescue is 6 hours away. Cale realized what Jake was thinking. No, Captain. No, you cannot attempt a rescue with a cargo ship. It's against every regulation in the book. Lucy, Jake called over the speaker. How are our engines? Running smooth, Captain. All systems green. Tom, can you plot a course through that debris field? Already working on it, Tom replied. It's going to be tight, but I think I can get us close. Rick, what do we have for rescue equipment? Standard emergency gear, but Captain... Rick paused. I've been looking at the Star Guardian. Their engines didn't just fail. Something exploded. Big hole in their engine section. Cale felt his stomach drop. Explosion damage. That ship could break apart any moment. More reason to hurry, Jake said. He pressed a button on his chair. All hands. This is the captain. We're going to attempt a rescue of the Star Guardian. I know this isn't what we signed up for, but 37. People are going to die if we don't try. Lucy's voice came over the speaker. What do you need, Captain? Can you extend our shields around both ships? Not normally, no. But if we reroute power from the cargo bay and use some of the mining equipment... Lucy was quiet for a moment. Yeah, I think I can do it. Give me 10 minutes. Tom spoke up. Captain, I'll need manual control to get through this debris field. The autopilot won't be fast enough. Do it. Inspector Cale watched in amazement as the human crew went to work. This wasn't standard procedure. This wasn't safe. This was completely insane. And it was the most impressive thing he had ever seen. Lucy appeared on the bridge 5 minutes later. She was covered in grease and sweat. Power routing is done. I've connected our shield generators to 3 pieces of mining equipment. It should give us enough power to protect both ships. Should? Cale asked. Will? Lucy corrected. It will work. Tom was flying the ship manually now. His hands moved over the controls like he was playing music. The iron wheel twisted and turned through the debris field, avoiding chunks of metal by just a few meters. There. Rick pointed at the screen. I can see the Star Guardian. The military ship looked bad. One whole section was torn open. Pieces of metal were floating around it. It was spinning slowly, getting closer to a massive piece of debris that looked like an old space station. Tom, get us alongside them, Jake ordered. Working on it, Captain. The iron wheel moved closer to the damaged ship. Cale could see people inside through the windows. They were waving frantically. Lucy, activate the extended shields. Shields up. A blue glow surrounded both ships. The mining equipment that Lucy had connected to the shield system was making strange noises, but it was working. Rick, we need to get those people off their ship. What can we use? Rick looked at his controls. Captain, we have mining equipment in the cargo bay, cutting tools, magnetic grapplers, construction drones. Construction drones? For building mining platforms. They're designed to work in space and carry heavy loads. Jake smiled. Can they carry people? Not designed for it, but... Rick thought for a moment. Yeah, I can modify them. Give me 5 minutes. While Rick worked on the drones, Tom kept the ship steady next to the Star Guardian. The debris field was still dangerous, and both ships were surrounded by floating metal. Lucy, Jake called, how are those shields holding? So far, so good. But Captain, we can't stay here long. The mining equipment isn't designed for this kind of power load. It's getting hot. Inspector Cale watched the crew work together. Each person knew exactly what to do. They didn't argue or ask for permission, they just solved problems. Drones are ready, Rick announced. I've got 6 construction drones modified for people transport. They can make 3 trips and get everyone off that ship. Do it. The next 30 minutes were the longest in Cale's life. He watched the small drones fly back and forth between the ships. Each drone carried 3 or 4 people from the damaged military ship to the safety of the iron will. The extended shields flickered several times. The mining equipment was overheating. Sparks flew from some of the control panels. Last, Group coming aboard, Rick reported. How many? Jake asked. 4 people, that's everyone. Just as the last drone returned, Lucy's voice filled the bridge. Captain, I have to shut down the extended shields. The mining equipment is about to explode. Do it. The blue glow around the ships disappeared. At the same moment, the Star Guardian finally hit the large piece of debris. The military ship broke apart in silence, pieces floating away into the darkness. Inspector Cale stared at the wreckage. If we had been 5 minutes later? But we weren't, Jake said simply. Commander Wells, the captain of the destroyed Star Guardian, came onto the bridge. He was a tall alien with blue skin and 4 arms. His uniform was torn and he looked exhausted. Captain Martinez, he said, I don't know how to thank you. My crew owes you their lives. Just doing our job, Jake replied. This wasn't your job, Commander Wells said. This was impossible. No cargo ship should have been able to pull off that rescue. Inspector Cale looked around the bridge. Tom was still flying them out of the debris field. Lucy was checking the systems that had been overloaded. Rick was helping the rescued crew members find places to sit. Everything they had done violated safety regulations. The shield extension was dangerous, the drone modifications were untested. Flying through the debris field was reckless, and it had saved 37 lives. Captain Martinez, Cale said quietly, I need to revise my report. Jake looked at him. Oh? I'm beginning to understand something, Cale said. You don't break rules because you want to. You break them because sometimes the rules aren't good enough. Commander Wells nodded. Inspector, in 20 years of military service, I've never seen anything like what these humans just did. They turned a cargo ship into a rescue vessel using mining equipment and spare parts. Cale closed his data pad. For the first time in his career, he wasn't sure what to write in his report. Outside the window, the stars looked different somehow, less orderly, more full of possibilities. Back at Kepler Station, Inspector Cale sat in his small office, staring at his computer screen. The rescue mission had ended 2 days ago, but he still couldn't write his report. Every time he started typing, he remembered something else. The way Tom had flown through the debris field. The sound of Lucy's voice when she said the shields would work. The look on Commander Wells's face when he realized his crew was safe. By every regulation he knew, the Iron Will should be grounded. The crew should lose their licenses. The ship should be scrapped for parts. But 37 people were alive, because these humans had broken every rule in the book. Cale picked up his communication device. Get me Commander Vex. A few minutes later, Vex appeared on his screen. Inspector, I was wondering when you'd call. What's your recommendation? Commander, I need to ask you something. How many ships have you inspected that have never lost a bomb? Crew member? Vex frowned. What do you mean? In your experience, how many cargo vessels have a perfect safety record? No deaths, no lost ships, no failed deliveries? Well, Vex thought for a moment. Very few, actually. Space is dangerous. The Iron Will has never lost a crew member, Cale said. Never missed a delivery, never abandoned a rescue. They've saved more lives than any military unit in this sector, but they break regulations constantly. Yes, they do. And because they break regulations, people live. Cale turned to look out his window. He could see the Iron Will at its docking bay, being loaded with supplies for another dangerous run. Commander, I think we need to rewrite some of our regulations. On the screen, Vex's scales were slowly changing color. Inspector, are you suggesting we ignore safety violations? No, I'm suggesting we understand the difference between reckless endangerment and intelligent adaptation. These humans don't break rules because they're careless. They break rules because they're trying to save lives. Vex was quiet for a long moment. What are you going to put in your report? Cale turned back to his computer. The truth. The Iron Will and her crew represent the best of what spacers can be. They're brave, resourceful, and effective. Yes, they violate safety regulations, but they do it to save lives, not to endanger them. The Trade Council won't like that. Then maybe it's time the Trade Council learned something new. Cale started typing. These humans have shown us that sometimes the best way to stay safe is to be willing to take risks for others. Outside, the Iron Will finished loading and prepared for departure. Her crew was already planning their next impossible mission. Her captain was already thinking about the next group of people who needed help, and somewhere in the galaxy, someone was alive because a cargo ship had decided that some rules were worth breaking. Inspector Kale watched the ship disappear into hyperspace, then turned back to his report. For the first time in his career, he was recommending that a ship continue operating exactly as it was. Some rules, he wrote, are less important than the lives they're meant to protect, and some crews understand that better than the people who write the regulations. The Iron Will flew on, carrying hope to the edges of known space, proving every day that sometimes the most dangerous thing you can do is play it safe.